And okay, first of all, I really appreciate for your help and for your any kind for us so far.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a very good experience.
Yeah.
The highlight was watching you all wrap your chair frames up. That was far and away the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
We are very much specialized for chair wrapping.
I'll recommend anyone wants the chair wrapping course to come to you guys.
Okay, please call us.
I know it is unusual, very unusual course for you.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you should think about many things and many aspects for us. Not usual case. So.
Oh right,
Yeah.
it was different. The biggest difference was that you're not putting the chairs together here, and that would have been very different. And yeah, when you actually, well, you could see the excitement when we just putting your backs together, but then when we put the whole chair together,
Yes.
that's very exciting. But you'll be able to anticipate that excitement for when you get back home. Are you all going to get together to do that?
Yes, maybe. And in my workshop,
Mhm.
we will gather
Yeah.
and to assemble and weaving chair seat.
That would be
Together.
interesting as well. I want to see some photos, if not film, of you weaving the chair seats. See what you make of that one.
I'll send some photo of film after finish all work.
I certainly want to
Yeah.
see.
I'm not sure
finishing.
when it will be.
Mhm.
Maybe about a month later or other.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It depends on his schedule. He's just a busy guy. It's you.
Right.
And I'd like to begin. We already know who you are and what you do
That's
so
what you
far.
think.
But could you introduce yourself briefly
Yeah.
for someone who don't know about you?
That's an interesting one. So I'm Mike Abbott.
Yeah.
I started running these courses in 1985. So in a year's time, I shall have been running these for 40 years. And I probably didn't think that I would still be doing this in 40 years' time. My main incentive was to get people enjoying being in woodlands, and so the woodland crafts was just a way to get people out there, and instead of just walking through the woods and saying, oh, isn't that a nice tree, or actually getting their hands on the stuff and working with wood as a material to do things with. That was the main thing I started out with. And as time has gone on, people like Barn the Spoon have come along, and they're much better at making spoons than I am. And I'm absolutely amazed at all the people who are now turning bowls on the pole lathe. So the idea of just turning a boring old chair leg on a pole lathe, nobody's really interested. Whereas when I started out 40 years ago, people say, wow, that's amazing, you can make a chair leg on this funny old piece of kit. But the things that people are making now are quite amazing. So I've just narrowed down to making chairs, which is for 5 days work, to my mind, it's a very satisfying project, and most people seem to be happy to spend 5 days making a chair. And I've always charged the same price for people coming on a course, or if somebody wants me to make a chair, I've said, yeah, it would cost the same as it would do if you came on a course. That might change, but we'll see. So that's, I've been doing it 40 years, and I've moved out of the woods back in 2015. So again, that was right. After 30 years doing these courses, I retired, moved out of the woods. We had a big procession with Crunchy with his horse and cart, and we all walked back from the woods.
I know that event, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a kind of saga.
Yeah. We called it the transhumance, which is a word which I don't know if it happens in Korea, but it happens mainly in places like Switzerland, where the farmers go up into the hills for the summer with their flock, with their goats mainly, I think, and they feed on the pastures up in the mountains, and they probably make cheese out of the milk, and in the winter they come back down to the village again, and I just like that idea, and this is really how I've worked all the time. In the when March comes along, when the clocks change, I don't know, do your clocks change? We move everything an hour forward and an hour backwards in spring and in autumn. But when that happened, then I would move out to the woodlands, and I would still come back here in the evenings, but I would be spending all my days out in the woods. So I felt a bit like an alpine goat herd. You know, instead of with a herd of goats, with a herd of people. I would have assistants, and I'd have people coming on the courses.
Yeah.
And then in the winter I would come back home and maybe do some writing, write a book, or make chairs. That kind of thing is what I would do in the workshop. Get the stove going in the workshop.
So then, literally, you are now retired from woodland workshop, right?
Well, yeah, I've moved out of the woodland. I said what I don't want to do is get to the stage where I'm a frail old man and not capable of running the courses in the woods. So I've now got to the stage where I'm a frail old man and not capable of running the courses in the garden, but at least it's just me and 4 people. When I was out in the woods, I'd have 8 people on a course, and I'd have 2, 3 assistants maybe, plus me, so there'd be a dozen of us out there, and that would have been too much responsibility, whereas here I can sort of stagger out of the house in the morning, and I can still just about get people through the courses now. I said, somebody was inquiring about the courses recently, I said my memory is useless, my memory resides now entirely in my hands. That's where my memory is, and whatever goes on up here runs totally on my subconscious. So I find myself doing things that I don't know how or why that comes about.
I see.
That's how I work now.
Yeah. And I think I'm very lucky to come here and be with you, and together we can make chairs. It's definitely very lucky to me.
I think probably so, yeah. I mean, how much longer I'll be able to run these courses, I don't know, but ever since that Mastercrafts television program back, which was aired in 2010, so for the last 14 years, that did me so much good that I've always had a waiting list for the courses, and people still seem to enjoy coming on the courses and taking the chairs away with them, but how much longer that will go. For about the last 20 years I've been saying, oh, I'll be retiring, this might be the last year I'm running courses, but I've already got one group booked in for next year now. So
Okay, I see. I hope you keep well your health to do and to keep your chairmaking course in next year and next year.
Yeah, well, it's partly down to me. I don't drink quite as much as I might do, but
Then, okay. How many people learn how to chairmaking from you so far?
well, 40 years, and I used to run maybe 10, 12 courses a year. So if we say on average 10 courses for 40 years, that's 400 courses. And if it used to be 8 people, now it's 4. So we say an average of 6. That's 2,500.
2,500. Wow.
Something. Give or take 500. Give or take 500.
Maybe over 2,000 and less than 3,000, maybe.
Less than 3,000, probably. Yeah. More than 2,000, less than 3,000, probably. Yeah.
What a wonderful number.
Yeah. In fact, when you go and see Paul at Westonbirt,
Yes?
I think he celebrated 1,000 people on his courses. I think we talked at one point about a joint celebration, but it didn't happen because he runs a lot more courses and he's been running them for a long, long time. So maybe he's hit Maybe he's hit
I
5,000.
don't know, he learns his chair making course with maybe 10 or 12 people.
I'm not sure how many he has. He has a lot of people at a time, yeah. He
He's
still
about
has
10,
assistants
yeah.
working with him, yeah. Maybe 10 people, yeah.
And what I want to ask about craft culture in the UK, especially in chair making.
Yeah.
If you look back 40 years ago or 20 years ago, and what difference between now and before?
Not so much maybe with chair making, but certainly Barn the Spoon and Robin Wood have got spoon making really big time. The interesting thing is that was a big thing in Sweden. That's something which is almost with Ville Sundqvist.
Yes.
Sort of bounced across the channel to America and then bounced back here, and
Yes.
lots of Americans making. Everyone in the world is making spoons now.
Yes.
Much more so than making chairs. But there is a huge interest in what I call green woodwork, what the Americans call green woodworking, what your Koreans
Sweden.
should have a Korean word for it.
Yeah.
And slöjd is what
Yeah.
they call it in Sweden. There's just a lot more interest in that. I think probably because so many people spend their day sat behind a computer screen going like this.
Yeah.
And I know if I spend more than about 3 hours in front of the computer screen, I'll start going weird. So people really enjoy the hands-on side of it, using their hand. And also, there's I don't know if you have a thing called men's shed, but that's a big thing here now, where usually not necessarily retired men, but a load of old men get together in a shed and do things, repair things or make things, and there's men, myself easily included, aren't very good at sort of opening up and talking and sharing. But the lovely thing about this, we could be sitting in the workshop using the tools, and maybe no one's speaking at all, but we're not sort of uncomfortable. If we didn't have a conversation going here, then it would be a bit weird if we weren't actually talking. But in the workshop, people can talk, conversation can crop up, people can have a laugh, or come out with. Sometimes people come out with big issues, and it's not just men as well. We usually have women on the course as well.
Women and children too.
Generally not. No, generally not. I may run some courses. I've got several people who have asked to come along with their children. We might do that, but usually it's adults, and usually it is of late. It has been mainly old. I say old men. Men like Mr. Kim, who may be retired and wants a way to pass the time. It was a refreshing change to have a course with a whole bunch of people in their 30s and 40s.
Okay.
And it's really nice when you get people in their 20s as well. So it's been great having Shihan along, a youngster. This is what I used to enjoy about the courses in the woods. Nearly all of my assistants were about your age, about 27. It seems to be that point in life when you, maybe if you haven't already discovered what you want to do, maybe you do discover what you want to do. And having that young energy around the place was really good, Yeah, I miss that. Yeah.
Okay. And at this point, if you have any question or if you have something to talk to the mic, just now.
Okay.
Directly.
Did you finish your question? Or
It's the beginning.
more?
Yeah.
It's just beginning. Okay. I don't
It's your
like bother
turn.
you because I feel you a little bit tired, but it's very special. So I like make some question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. As you know, we are the recording voice and the image. So just for me, I like to memorize all the process. The about the chair we made, the WeWorld chair. So it is a little bit the funny question though. Just
No such thing as a silly question.
yeah. But just to memorize all the process, can you just summarize all the process about the WeWorld chair? Just simply, I like to remember
About that
At-
particular chair, or about making that chair?
WeWorld chair. WeWorld chair we made.
Yeah, about making it.
Yeah.
So we started off with the logs,
Yeah.
which had been sitting in the bath for a few days, so that the bark came off, and I was surprised a little bit how the wood had soaked up the moisture, so it was like very fresh wood. And then the first process, I'd already done the sawing, so the first process is cleaving, splitting it along the grain, then jumping on the shaving horse, using the draw knife to shave the rung, and then doing the more complicated bits at the back. Same thing, using the draw knife. And then the tool which my courses revolve around, the tenon cutter, which has replaced using the pole lathe. Back in when I started out, we were using the pole lathe to make anything round, whereas the tenon cutter goes in a cordless drill. 40 years ago, I don't think there was such a thing as a cordless drill. So we've got this very new technology combined with the very old technology of cleaving and shaving, and so that combination has never happened before in the history of mankind. I mean, they did have rotary planes, things like that, but not in the same way. I don't think they ever used them in chair making. So it's really a whole new craft, really. So then, having made the bits, we then put them in the dryer. So that was running day and night for several days at about 40 degrees centigrade. And so we could take the pieces of wood out then from the dryer. And so there's kind of three bits to the chair making. The first 2 or 3 days where we're making the components for the chairs, and then we switch to being more sort of traditional woodworkers, conventional woodworkers, and drilling things and smoothing things and sanding. There's no point sanding a piece of green wood because it won't do any good. So then drilling holes and squeezing the chairs together, which is, as you noticed, it's a bit unusual here because we don't use any glue. We rely on the way the wood warps. So we're actually most conventional woodworkers, regarding the fact that wood warps, regard that as a disadvantage, whereas we make use of that, the fact that wood splits quite easily and that it warps as it dries. We make use of both those properties, and then we put the chair frames, in your case, because you're going back to Korea, you didn't completely put the chair frames together. You put your back panel together and then the front panel, and then usually on the course the last day is spent weaving a seat, and I go around the 4 individual people and try and get them working in pairs to start with, because it's good to have 2 people weaving together, and then they usually finish off weaving their own chair, and then we take a photo at the end, and off everybody goes.
Yeah, thank you for the kind explanation. So it'll be helpful for me to memorize all the process. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And it's about your philosophy. So I mean, what's the most important thing in the Greenwoodworking for you?
Wow.
It could be a technique, or it could be just your mindset.
The technique of cleaving is probably the bit I like best, but it is also making use of the way the wood warps. You're trying to work with nature. You can see from the garden here that we like being out in the country and working with natural things, and as you can tell, I like growing vegetables and fruit, working with nature, and also as I think I said in Green Woodwork, what we're doing is working with the wood and not against it. So you know, we're not buying planks in and then putting machinery through it, regardless of what the wood wants, the whole time, especially with the cleaving, but also with the shaving, which I work very, very hard to try and get across to you with moderate success, is that you're working with the fibres of the wood. It didn't help by the fact that the log we were working with wasn't as well behaved as it might have been, but this is again part of what one has to learn working with natural things. And I like to think there are life lessons that come out of that, is that if one goes into some sort of project, we're talking now philosophy, if you go into some sort of project and say, right, I am going to do this to that thing, and that's going to behave how I want it to behave, regardless of how the material wants to behave, that is sort of modern man's approach to working with things, whereas I prefer the more sort of harmonious, you start off with an idea and you work with the material, and between the material and the tools and the craftsperson you jointly come up with some kind of solution. So when you drill your holes at what we might decide slightly the wrong angle, you know, you'll see what happens with that. You'll work with it, you'll adapt with it. Maybe the pieces of wood will bend, maybe you'll have to drill some more holes. You have to adapt, and that's what mankind has got to learn to do. It's got to adapt to what nature wants to happen. We can't carry on dominating everything. Oh wow! So we got round to the philosophy.
It might be 상관없어.
Yeah.
You can
Sanguine
just
opposite.
one word. It might be. 상관없어.
Yeah, I don't like the interpretation says don't care, but yeah, whatever is
Whatever.
not with a T in it, not whatever, but whatever is what the youngsters nowadays say, and it's very, very much, yeah, you know, you work with what happens.
Okay. I have one last question.
Yeah, sure.
If you go back to 1985, your starting point,
Yeah.
will you do again Greenwoodworking?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And if you really want to do again, what's the? I mean, I told you before, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to prepare my own business like this. The people get together and then they learn something like Greenwoodworking
Yeah.
and enjoy this kind of place and the Greenwoodworking. So, yeah, my question is, will you go back to 1985? Will you do again? And then, if you build again this place, what should be the shape of the place, the building, and your workshop? Can you?
Actually, it is an interesting question. When what happened at first is that I would put up a very simple workshop, something like where we've been working for this last 5 days. No roof, no solid roof, no walls or anything like that, and just for the summer. And it started off really very simple, just with a tarpaulin over a pole slung between some trees. And every couple of years I would move for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure. It's part of the tradition, I think. And so my final workshop at Brookhouse Wood was workshop number 10. And I remember once we'd put that workshop up, thinking if somebody had said 30 years ago, if somebody had said then, this is what you would be building, I wouldn't have known where to start. So it had to evolve. It had to, the process had to sort of develop. There's no way I could have put up, I mean, you haven't seen the workshop that's up there, and it's not particularly impressive. But it was it's sort of very much an evolutionary process, as has been my, well, say chair making. You know, I didn't know that I would specialise in chair making. Never set out to be a woodworker or a chair maker. I sort of basically carrying on my childhood, building dens in the woods. That's really where my heart is at, is building dens in the woods and playing with a gang of people and a dog in the woods. So from that point of view, yeah, I'm very happy having followed that direction. And if you can sort of remember that the essence really is to get people playing in the woods. That's the most important thing, and not taking things too seriously. That's the other thing. So when somebody makes a mistake, you think, okay, firstly you've got to learn what happened there, and then you've got to learn how to get out of it, and then you learn not to do that again. If you get everything right all the time, you don't learn anything.
So, will you do again? Keyboarding?
Will I do it? Will I do it? I would do. Yeah, I don't believe in reincarnation, so it won't be very many years till I stop doing green woodworking. But I've been incredibly fortunate. The English word is two words: are lucky and fortunate. And I don't like lucky. That implies there's nothing to do with you. Fortunate means you create your own fortune. And so you know, kind of looking and seeing the way things are going, and I was very, very fortunate to find a publisher who wanted to publish a book called Green Woodwork in the UK, and I'm very fortunate meeting Tamsin, who also wanted to go and play in the woods, and so it goes on. Very fortunate to meet a lovely little spaniel dog called Seren.
I'm sure there were so many good things and you met so many good people like your wife in Woodland.
Yeah. Well, she came and helped she came on a course in the first place, and came and helped on the course. Yeah.
자, 다른 분은요? 혹시?
저는 있었는데 철우님 질문하신 거에 같이 들어가 있어서 같이.
지우 씨는요? 선생님은요?
Maybe in the morning I show you the name of my working place, working place. It means it's rather what can I say, the double meaning in that word. One is the place which the trees or the wood is living. Another one is the giving a second life to the wood or trees.
To the trees, yeah.
I think during I spent almost 18 years for the woodworking, and then I felt that still, even though there is a wood from tree, but still I think they are alive.
Even after you've made bits
even
of furniture.
though they are wood.
Yeah.
But I think still they are alive.
I agree with you there entirely.
So that is what I have, but that is what I felt, and that is also the philosophy. Whenever I facing the woods or trees.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I'm a little bit faithful to my job, my woodworking job. So, what is your opinion on that? You also feel like that?
Oh, I do very much. Yeah. And we try and capture the process of cleaving rather than sawing. For me, is very important, which is partly why I don't make Windsor chairs anymore, because they have that sawn plank. Okay, so we're working with bits of string to put the seat on there, but we're cleaving bits of wood and making them as light as possible. That was the interesting thing about the Italian chairs you were talking to me about, is that their thing is the lightness and the strength, and I like to think that these are maybe not lighter than, what was the name of the chair?
Chiavari.
Okay,
Yeah.
But that same, when we put the chair together, bouncing off the floor, that
chair drop. Yeah.
that vibrancy, which is the same strength that a tree has. If you've got wind blowing at 100 miles an hour and the tree's full of leaves, then it just doesn't just stand there solidly like a lump of concrete. It moves and it sways. And you know, I've been practicing Tai Chi for probably at least as long as I've been doing green woodwork, and that strength through the ability to give, to bend with the forces that are coming at you. I think that's essential. And you learn that from the tree.
I'm very happy. You have the same philosophy what I have.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most important and key principle of Grinwoodworking. Yeah, it's not only just about chair making, including such as spoon carving or bowl carving, and any Grinwoodworking object is just use that character of tree, and they try to tree as it be, as it just try to use trees as it 그 생긴 대로 쓴다 이렇게 우리가 그럴까요?
Going with the grain.
Yeah. That is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is when I found Grinwoodworking and chair making, and it's totally strange to me. I never
yeah.
heard about it and never seen any kind of that craft in Korea.
Yeah.
Before.
Right, yeah.
Maybe I could someone who use a green wood or a branch, but I never thought it can be a good material for something. But however, 다른 분 질문이 없으니까 제가 이제 이어갈게요.
네.
And I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And one of that is what do you think about your chair? Why your chair is different than other chairs made, such as factory made chairs or cabinet makers chairs? There are so many types of chairs in the market. So what different and what is special in your chair?
The fact that they've been cleft out of the log. I mean that is basically it. And also that I've been following the tradition of the chair makers of, you know, sort of 100 years or more ago, where they're not. There's a lovely quote, in fact, I mentioned in one of my books, that the essence of craft is not. This is where it may disagree with, you know, the sort of cabinet makers, carvers and things. It's not to add frilly bits to make things look pretty. It is purely and simply about the function. And this is where it ties in with the arts and crafts movement, is that it's that the beauty follows the fact that the object is made particularly for a function. So for me, a chair, it should be strong and it should be comfortable. Those are the two main things. If it looks nice, that's okay, but that comes way down number 3. So it's just, yeah, the fact that it fulfills the function of something you can sit on, and you can leave it outside in the rain if needs be, not all the time, but and you can jump around in it, and you can have parties, and you can get drunk and enjoy yourself without worrying about, oh goodness, oh no, we don't want to damage it.
Yeah.
That is the principle behind Sloyd as well. And who was it? Ruskin or something said, do not have anything that is neither beautiful nor serves a function, or something like that, I think.
Yeah, I said that phrase in Kellamscott Manor.
Right, yeah. Which is a little bit difficult being married to an artist.
And my last question is about how British people recognize this type of leatherback handmade chair. I saw many leatherback chairs from churches, restaurants, or even in some museum. They knew about their traditional chair and who makes chairs and what special, what heritage cultural value in. Yeah, however, I wonder how normal or common, how British people know about this type of chair and this type of craft of chairmaking. How do
I'm not
they
sure
know
that.
about
I'm not
chairmaking?
sure it's that sort of in. Yeah, I'm not sure that your average British person really knows much about the tradition of chair making. In this little area here where Philip Clisset was really the last of the traditional chair makers, working up until the First World War, and then it evolved. Lawrence and his father Neville, and Dan, who you will see, and they kind of carried on the tradition, and I think they're tending to work with sawn wood rather than cleft wood, but it's still fairly true to the tradition.
Yeah.
But your average British person would be quite happy going to IKEA and paying £30 for a chair.
Then you don't think they normally heard about chair making and chair makers or any butchers in their normal life?
Well, that's the interesting thing. I remember once there's a program called Brain of Britain, which is for very clever people, and the question there was, what is a bodger? And then about 10 years later there was a TV program for less clever people, and there the question was, what is a bodger? So it has seeped into the public consciousness a little bit more. When I started going out to craft fairs doing demonstrations of the pole lathe, people hadn't seen it before, but were now, oh no, the pole lathe, So it certainly people are more aware of this kind of stuff.
I heard that the Mastercraft BBC TV show, and I heard there were maybe about 600 butcher or chainmaker in all England at the time.
There will have been hundreds of chair bodgers producing Windsor chair legs. Yeah, it was one of the first forms of mass production, really. You would have all these guys out in the woods on their pole lathes producing the Windsor chairs, drying them out in the woods and then taking them into the workshops where there would be, around the Chilterns, around High Wycombe.
Yes.
It was a huge industry, so there were a lot of people involved in that.
And also I saw a long list of Greenudwoking workshop at the behind of Butcher's Gadget, which is a newsletter of the APTGW. And I thought that there are so many chance or so many it would be well known for many people in the UK. But I wonder how it be in real for normal people in the UK.
Not many people know about the Association of Pole Lathe Turners. There are about, I think I was just looking, about 1,200 members worldwide, but mostly in the UK. That's 12, so call it 1,000 people. 1,000's not a very big proportion of 70 million. And it's 1,000 more than it was in 1991 when 6 of us got together and formed the Association of Pole Lathe Turners. So, you could say it's on an exponential curve. But
Okay.
Who knows? Who knows? I really, really would have bet a lot of money that nobody would be turning some of the beautiful bowls and things that people are now turning on the pole. I thought that's well dead and buried. But, so who knows what will happen over the next 20, 30 years? No idea.
Okay. Then any questions?
No more.
No more.
Actually, I have more, but it would be next time. I will see you again.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Next year.
Please keep your house. I told you I'll bring
Yeah.
my 3 sons
Well,
again.
when will be your retirement?
Really.
When will be my retirement? I've been
Totally.
saying. I remember when there was a guy called Josh who was my assistant at the time, and this will have been about 2009, I think. And I was always talking about my retirement then. So this is what 15 years ago. And when these guys came along 2 years ago, that was going to be the end of it. But I just think, what would I do without this? You know, I'll be sitting. Well, maybe not when I'm watching television, but if I'm sitting there, my mind is running around and thinking, what was it I came up with in the shower today? Oh yeah, about how to work out where you're going to drill the hole for the seat rail. You know, that was a new idea to me. Okay, so
Wow, new idea.
you mark the top of the thing, and then you add 3 millimeters, and you know, I'm thinking, okay, how will that translate into it so the Americans can understand it? This is where what there is left of my mind. That's where my mind is going. So if I stop doing all this stuff, it would be, you know,
So you can't retire until you still have something to do.
Yeah, you can breathe.
I can
You
what?
can breathe.
Oh, only God knows.
Only God knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I really appreciate, and I can't say how can I say thank you for your help and
Well, we've
your
got 2
kindness.
beautiful brass spoons and 2 beautiful sets of brass chopsticks. And I've got lots of very, very good memories. And I've got lots of good photos of you wrapping up all your chair bits, put them in a cardboard box.
Yeah,
I'm so glad I filled it.
expert. Wrapping,
No, I
packaging.
won't forget this week. It's been a good week. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sure all of us are same.
yeah, yeah,
We'll
Yeah.
never forget
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Really, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
박수로
Well, thank you.
마무리할까요? Let's give him big applause. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all you guys for coming over and
Also, give our best regards to Tommy.
yeah, I shall. Yeah.